And at the outset, I think it's important to say that Transport for London is critical to the functioning of the city. It's vital for the economic and social well-being of London. And these days, although it's unfashionable to say so, London is the economic motor of the UK economy. And if TfL doesn't function, London doesn't function, and the knock-on effect to the country is inestimable. So it is right that the government have stepped in. It's worth pointing out that neither Transport for London nor the government are responsible for the health crisis that we are in at the moment. It is true, as both my honourable friend, the member for Carshalton and Wallington, and the honourable gentleman, the member for Hammersmith, have pointed out in their speeches, that the pandemic has devastated Transport for London's finances. That is a fact, and it's not open to debate. So it's right that the government has stepped in twice over a 6-month period to the tune of £3.3 billion, and that cost is borne by the UK taxpayer collectively. Now, there's been much comment that certain benefits enjoyed by Londoners pre-pandemic are not being covered by the bailout agreements. And I think it's important to note that at pre-pandemic levels, there was over £1 billion of subsidy within Transport for London's transport provision. Over £700 million of that went into buses, but there were also £330 million of other concessions. The government's position on this, in both of the bailout agreements, is that it would be inequitable to taxpayers across the country to pay for subsidised travel that is not enjoyed elsewhere. Why, Sir David, should taxpayers in Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham pay for a benefit that Londoners enjoy that is not enjoyed by the citizens of those cities? Now, London's Deputy Mayor for Transport, speaking on behalf of the Mayor, has pushed back against this, and she stated that this amounts to levelling down and that Londoners are more dependent on public transport. Now, I think that there is something in that argument, but the financial management at City Hall over the past 4 years leaves a lot to be desired. The honourable gentleman, the member for Hammersmith, criticised my honourable friend, the member for Carshalton and Wallington, when he said that he crudely politicised this issue. Has he ever met Sadiq Khan? I can't imagine a politician in this country alive today who doesn't miss an opportunity to crudely politicise any issue at all. And there are other facts, and these were laid out at some length by my honourable friend. The fares freeze, the partial fares freeze, as it should be called, because it isn't a complete fares freeze. Now, much, I'm sure, will be made of Labour members when they come to speak about the withdrawal of the revenue grant from Transport for London's budget. They won't acknowledge that much of that is replaced by business rates, but they will harp on about the £700 million, and they are right to draw attention to that, because that has harmed Transport for London's finances. But that didn't happen in 1 year or overnight. It was phased in over a 3-year period. The first year of that took place under the previous mayor. So candidate Khan, before he became Mayor Khan, knew about this. He knew this money was going to disappear. And he still recklessly pledged a fares freeze, a partial fares freeze for the next 4 years in order to help garner votes to get himself elected. And Transport for London's costings of this, at that time, were £1.9 billion. Then they watered it down a few weeks later because the Commissioner was desperate to keep his job to £640 million, and that's the figure that they are sticking at the moment. On top of that, we have, as my honourable friend has referred to, the massive delay to Crossrail. 4 years and nearly £4 billion late, and that's going to cost over £1.6 billion in unachieved fares revenue. These things don't help, and this has happened. Now, they will say, and the Mayor has been saying this ad nauseum, well, of course, this is a co-sponsored project between the Department of Transport and Transport for London. True. But actually, Transport for London is the delivery arm of that project and always was. Because Crossrail Limited, who the Mayor likes to blame, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Transport for London. And who chairs Transport for London? The Mayor of London. Crossrail's delay can be laid squarely at the feet of Sadiq Khan. We've heard about the delay to the capital projects. The 21 capital projects have been delayed. We've heard about some of the fringe benefits, the TfL nominee pass scheme. We've heard about, well, we haven't heard about this, trade union facility time at Transport for London has more than doubled under Sadiq Khan. We have now 81 people. It's more than double the number of people that spend more than half of their time working solely on trade union facility activities. That's more than the whole of the civil service put together. And we've also seen other examples of Sadiq Khan's wasteful approach to management. Staffing at City Hall has gone up by 82%, staff costs at City Hall, 82% in 4 years. Does anybody believe that London is 82% better governed now than it was in 2016? Anyone at all? Of course not. The Mayor's press office has increased by 33% since Sadiq Khan took office. We've had other really good headline-grabbing things, such as £800,000 spent on beach parties in 2018, and in 2019, £10 million spent by the Metropolitan Police to put every police officer over the rank of sergeant through a personality test to assign a colour to their personality. Apparently that was critical. £10 million was spent on that by this Mayor of London. So, David, we're living in extraordinary times. The government is dealing with an unprecedented health crisis. There is no manual for how to do this, and the government interventions, if they go to the full extent that were announced by the Chancellor last week, will amount to £280 billion, and these are very, very extensive. In London, the government's demonstrated its commitment to maintaining the core functions of Transport for London by injecting £3.3 billion of UK taxpayers' money to keep Transport for London afloat. And I don't think that anybody in this room will argue with that. But under the circumstances, given the fact that the benefits in question are not enjoyed outside London, and the fact that City Hall under Sadiq Khan has been so wasteful of public money, it is hardly surprising that the government should expect City Hall to fund the retention of such benefits. Thank you, Sir David.